You can now get 2 free audiobook downloads and a 30-day free trial at audible.bogosity.tv. Your choice from the world's largest selection of over 180,000 digital audiobooks and spoken word content for your iOS or Android device, Kindle, or MP3 player. Go to audible.bogosity.tv now. Welcome to the Bogosity Podcast for the week of May 27th, 2018. The podcast that's all we know of heaven and all we need of hell. This is your host, Shane Killian. Let's attenuate the news of the bogus. And we start out with another story in the increasing failures of the socialist state of Venezuela. It really is true that businesses will try to provide needed products and services wherever they can, but so many times, big government policies, especially socialist policies, just prove too much for them. In this case, Kellogg's is closing up shop and leaving the country. The company has been having trouble getting access to raw materials, and currency controls make it increasingly difficult to import goods. That made it impossible for them to continue, leading them to shut down and lay off 300 workers. Actually, for many Venezuelans, it won't make much of a difference. Food shortages caused by the nationalization of industries, as well as rampant inflation, meant that most families couldn't afford Kellogg's products to begin with. Of course, President Nicolas Maduro, instead of admitting that his insane socialist policies were to blame, instead accused Kellogg's of sabotage, doing it deliberately to undermine his chances in the upcoming sure-to-be-rigged-anyway election. He said, quote, "Why are they doing it today? Because we are 4 days away from elections, and they think it will spook the people." Yeah, that's right, Maduro. It's all about making you look bad. As if you needed their help. He also said, quote, "Imperialists, oligarchs, nobody can scare our people. I've taken the decision to deliver the company to the workers in order that they can continue producing for the people." Yes, he's seizing the factory for the workers. I'm sure the shelves will be full in no time. He also said, quote, "We've begun judicial proceedings against the business leaders of Kellogg's because their exit is, get this, unconstitutional." Kellogg's leaving is in the wake of Bridgestone, Kimberly-Clark, and General Mills closing up shop in Venezuela over the last few years, and Coca-Cola and Colgate have suspended or cut back operations. Meanwhile, opposition lawmakers in the National Assembly estimate the inflation rate at 6,000%. Things in Venezuela are going to get worse before they get better. Say, if you're tired of the promos in this podcast, well, the patrons got it early and with no ads or promos. Just go to patreon.bogosity.tv and donate at any level. Do you have children or nieces or nephews? Are you homeschooling or just want to counter some of the socialist indoctrination most children get in school? If so, go to bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins, and you'll be taken to a website where you can get some great books for elementary-aged children. The Tuttle Twins books are books about liberty and free market economics that include children's versions of Bastiat's The Law, Leonard Read's I, Pencil, and Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, as well as books about the Federal Reserve and how regulations protect business cronies. They'll learn about the harm caused by eminent domain, or regulations passed in the name of safety, and fundamental concepts of liberty. And as you can see from the sample pages on the website, they're all easy to read and nicely illustrated. They're just $9.99 a piece, or get a special discount as well as free bonuses when you purchase all 5. You can even buy in bulk to donate to schools and local libraries. So get the Tuttle Twins books at bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins. Of course, we still have our own issues here in the U.S. According to the Pentagon's own numbers, they can't account for how they spent $21 trillion. And yes, that's trillion with a T. By the way, $21 trillion is also the current U.S. national debt, and the current annual GDP is $18.6 trillion. Economics professor Mark Skidmore, along with former HUD Secretary Catherine Austin Fitts, did a search of government websites finding instances going all the way back to 1998, showing a total of $21 trillion in adjustments for HUD and the Pentagon that were completely unsupported. There is no accounting for any of this money, and that's $21 trillion for the years 1998 to 2015, an average of over $1.2 trillion a year. The entire Pentagon budget for 2015 was just $598 billion, and HUD was $35 billion, so they can't account for way more money than they've approved by Congress. Their mistakes literally outweigh what they get right. After the two reported this number, the Office of the Inspector General took down the report. Fortunately, lots of people grabbed copies, and by the way, according to the OIG, the unsupported adjustments are due to the, quote, failure to correct system deficiencies, resulting in $21 trillion? And remember, this is just two agencies, the Pentagon and HUD. Who knows how much it would be if you audited the entire federal government? Of course, if a private company did anything even remotely resembling this, even just in the millions, the SEC would be all over them for fraud. And sorry, lefties, you can't blame this one on white supremacists, and sorry, alt-righters, but you can't blame this one on brown-colored immigrants. This is the fault of both of you, in both parties. If you're on the Wi-Fi in a coffee shop or hotel, anyone on that network can get your traffic. Do you really trust all of those strangers? For that matter, do you really trust your ISP? A VPN can protect you from prying eyes, disguise your location, and even foil government censors. It's essential in this day and age, so go to vpn.bogosity.tv and you'll be taken to BoxPN. Starting at just $2.99 a month, you can get unlimited high-speed connections to VPN servers all over the world, and they don't log connections, so your privacy is assured. Traveling abroad, just VPN home, and don't worry about what those other governments are doing. Back at home, stop your ISP from traffic shaping and messing with the quality internet access you're paying good money for. You can connect from multiple machines at once, including your smartphone or tablet, and it supports all the secure standards, including OpenVPN and SSTP. Bypass censors and surveillance with your own secure VPN connection. Go to vpn.bogosity.tv. Another huge problem in this country, and elsewhere for that matter, that we've been covering is the crony politics and rent-seeking of IP cartels like the MPAA. Now, an industry group comprised of technology companies known as the Internet Association has come out blasting them. It happened after MPAA Chairman and CEO Charles Rivkin jumped on the Facebook privacy bandwagon saying, quote, "The Internet is no longer nascent, and people around the world are growing increasingly uncomfortable with what it's becoming. The moment has come for a national dialogue about restoring accountability on the Internet. Whether through regulation, recalibration of safe harbors, or the exercise of greater responsibility by online platforms, something must change." Most people with a brain are a tiny bit skeptical of their good intentions. In an open letter to House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Greg Walden, they said that groups like the MPAA hijacked the regulatory debate with anti-internet lobbying efforts. Quote, "A regulatory debate should not be driven by the proliferation of anti-internet lobbying that has hit Washington in recent months from companies and industries looking to improve their competitive odds through regulation. This is neither in the best interest of consumers nor politically popular with the millions of Americans who use and trust internet platforms. The Zuckerberg hearing had nothing to do with the motion picture industry, but Mr. Rivkin demonstrated shameless rent-seeking by calling for regulation on internet companies simply in an effort to protect his clients' business interests. This blatant display of crony politics is not unique to the big Hollywood studios, but rather emblematic of a broader anti-consumer lobbying campaign. Many other pre-internet industries, telcos, legacy tech firms, hotels, and others are looking to defend old business models by regulating a rising competitor to the clear detriment of consumers. One thing should be clear by now, no matter how much freedom of speech and freedom of the press is curtailed, no matter how much the safe harbor of internet providers is diminished, no matter how many websites and apps are shuttered, it will never be enough for the likes of the MPAA. They won't be satisfied until they have control over every single byte that traverses the internet. We live in a world where light bulbs connect to the internet, and recent attacks on them prove that your online security is under threat like never before. Not only your websites, but the internet-enabled devices you buy. And the biggest problem is weak passwords. That's why you need LastPass. LastPass allows you to randomly generate strong, unique passwords on the web and on your internet-enabled devices, all protected by one master password. LastPass sets up in minutes and gives you secure automatic logins throughout the web, synchronizing across all your browsers, all your computers, and even your mobile devices, at home, at work, or on the road. It even securely stores sensitive form data, including credit card numbers, backup sensitive documents, software licenses, Wi-Fi logins, and more. And with LastPass Premium, you can get these benefits on other applications, manage passwords for your entire family, and also get priority customer support. Sign up at password.bogosity.tv for a free month of LastPass Premium. Log in securely everywhere using the last password you'll ever have to remember. Go to password.bogosity.tv and get LastPass now. And now it's time to invert this week's biggest Bogon emitter. And again, it goes to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who basically said police having to follow the Constitution results in violent crime. In a speech to the National Association of Police Organizations, he whined, quote, "What has made times difficult recently for law enforcement is that some radicals and politicians began to unfairly malign and blame police as a whole for the crimes and unacceptable deeds of a few. No, it's the fact that they were getting away with those crimes scot-free, with police departments officially excusing them or even covering them up entirely." Quote, "Their message seemed to be that the police were the problem, not the criminals. They wanted the ACLU to determine police policies, and that was enforced by a federal court order. They said police were violent, while homicides in America increased by a total of 20% in 2015 and 2016, the largest jump since 1968. Law professor Paul Castle and economics professor Richard Fowles established that in Chicago, homicide jumped 58% after the ACLU settlement ended proven and constitutional policing." The problem is the real statistics don't bear him out. Not only is correlation not causation, there's no theoretical link between a consent decree and increased crime. It's also cherry picking. After the NYPD stopped their stop and frisk policy, crime went down. And that's despite then Mayor Michael Bloomberg fear-mongering about the apocalypse that would happen without it. Also, Philadelphia, Seattle, and Newark, New Jersey all saw the rates of violent crime arrested or even dropping after their consent decrees. But the authors of the report Sessions is relying on just wrote New York off as an anomaly and ignored Philadelphia, Seattle, and Newark outright. Also, there were several cities that saw even higher spikes in violent crimes without any consent decrees or changes to their stop and frisk policies. And Sessions' own DOJ itself gives different reasons for Chicago's spike in crime. Quote, "First, for decades, certain neighborhoods on Chicago's south and west sides have been disproportionately ravaged by gun violence. Those same neighborhoods have borne the brunt of the recent surge of violence. And second, for Chicago to find solutions, short and long term, for making those neighborhoods safe, it is imperative that the city rebuild trust between CPD and the people it serves, particularly in these communities." You know, the whole point of the Attorney General's office is to investigate and prosecute officers who abuse their power. Once again, we see how little you can rely on government to police itself. So all of that gives Jeff Sessions another biggest Bogon emitter. If you're going to shop online, use our special links to shop at Amazon. Clear your cookies and go to amazon.bogosity.tv, and you won't pay a penny more for your purchase. If you haven't used the mobile app in the last 12 months, or even at all, go to get5.bogosity.tv on your phone or tablet and get $5 off your order of $10 or more. Go to prime.bogosity.tv for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime and enjoy thousands of movies and TV episodes, borrowed Kindle books, and get unlimited 2-day shipping for free. And speaking of Kindle, go to kindle.bogosity.tv for a 30-day free trial to Kindle Unlimited. Read over 1 million books and listen to thousands of audiobooks on any device. You can go to music.bogosity.tv and get a free 30-day trial of Amazon Music Unlimited with access to Amazon's entire library of 10 million songs, ad-free and with unlimited skips, and even download to listen offline. All great ways to help this podcast simply by shopping at Amazon. And now let's pour fire ants all over this week's Idiot Extraordinaire. And this week it goes to the Michigan Senate for declaring that dangerous pseudoscience quackery is just the same as real medicine. Okay, there are a lot of problems with our public policy regarding healthcare, but none of them can be solved by giving any legitimacy to the deliberate and dangerous fraud known as naturopathy. We've mentioned the Naturopathic Diaries blog, where former naturopath Britt Hermes shows quite clearly that the naturopathic industry knows what they're doing is fraudulent, and their tactic is to basically induct people wanting to become naturopaths into a cult that demonizes any opposition. This article from Jan Bellamy in Science-Based Medicine goes into Michigan's bewilderingly misguided attempt to issue government licenses to naturopaths, a bit of cronyism from, guess who, the dietary supplement industry. Strange how so many people don't seem to mention them when they're complaining about Big Pharma. In recent decades, osteopathic doctors in Michigan and most other states have joined MDs in being able to diagnose and treat illnesses. But that's because they more and more adopted an evidence-based approach, getting rid of the woo, and as a result, they've been able to contribute greatly to what the medical industry has to offer. But NDs aren't going that route. They want to be treated exactly like these practitioners without having to go through the same requirements for GPA, testing, number of classroom hours and clinical education, thousands of hours of residency, and so on. In fact, they want to bypass the university system entirely and have their only requirement be a piece of paper that might as well be toilet tissue. These NDs will be able to offer an immense price advantage since they're unencumbered by things like educational expenses and actual medical equipment, but they'll be every bit as lacking in anything useful they have to offer the public. They go to tiny schools accredited by an agency run by naturopaths where they don't get anything beyond entry-level science subjects, if that. NDs do have their own exam, the NPLEX, but unlike the licensing exams for MDs and osteopaths, this is completely secret and it has never been allowed to be independently reviewed. There's also no residency or actual patient clinical training whatsoever required. Regardless of how you feel about licensing laws, the law should at least be administered consistently and impartially, and this law doesn't. But even worse, we know that the woo they're hawking is dangerous and even deadly. Naturopathy is based on the fallacy that using natural treatments boosts the body's natural ability to heal itself, and therefore diagnostic skills are completely irrelevant, when in reality, effective treatment depends on effective diagnosis. But even worse than that, NDs actually fabricate conditions that don't even exist. Vague symptoms like fatigue, headaches, and dizziness are turned into fake diseases like Wilson's temperature syndrome or chronic Lyme disease. And SB 826 makes it worse by giving them the authority to conduct laboratory testing. They would even be allowed to do minor office surgery. That's when they're not doing outright quackery like applied kinesiology or dangerously uncalled for treatments like chelation therapy for autism or colon cleansing, and most commonly, extremely unsafe megadoses of untested dietary supplements. By the way, you know all the supposed scandals the alt-med people fearmonger about with doctors supposedly getting kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies? Just look at how many NDs make money selling supplements, homeopathic garbage, and other crap directly to people on their websites. Gee, conflict of interest much? Oh, look, Your condition needs this for a treatment, and guess what? It just so happens that we sell it. And if this becomes law, they'll be able to get official government licenses with all of the perceived legitimacy that provides to the unthinking. If you want an excellent example as to why we shouldn't be relying on government to determine this sort of thing, look no further. And so that makes the Michigan Senate this week's Idiot Extraordinaire. Well, that wraps up this I Can Understand You Wanting My Wallet So I Don't Have Any Money to Spend in the Jail Cell edition of the Bogosity Podcast. Come join the discussion at forum.bogosity.tv or discord.bogosity.tv, and feel free to send a question, statement, news article, or rant in text or audio to podcast@bogosity.tv. This podcast depends on you to keep going, so please donate using the links on the website or the QR codes in the thumbnail, or support Shane DK on Patreon or Maker Support to get the podcast and YouTube videos early and without ads or promos. Thank you for listening. Until next time, here's a quote from David Mamet. Policemen so cherish their status as keepers of the peace and protectors of the public that they have occasionally been known to beat to death those citizens or groups who question that status. The Bogosity Podcast is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Bogosity. Want answers to creationist claims against evolution? Would you like to know more about evolution yourself, or even engage creationists more directly, with actual peer-reviewed sources to back you up? My book, How Evolution is Scientific, is designed to show the basics of evolutionary theory and how it is so well supported using the scientific method. It's impeccably sourced, with references to the actual scientific material, and is arranged using the creationists' own criteria of what is scientific. Using their own arguments against them, see how evolution is scientific, but creationism is not, based on observations, accurate predictions, logic, and evidence. Get answers to common creationist claims, and even a primer on abiogenesis, the start of all life. It's all in my book, How Evolution is Scientific, available at Amazon and on Kindle, EPUB, and PDF as well. Get How Evolution is Scientific and never be taken in by creationists again.